This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
How many times have you wished you could be in two places at once? With Wix, you practically can. Wix's website builder is packed with powerful AI tools to make running your business online easier. Build a full site just by talking with AI. Get an AI agent to manage your sales and marketing. Or work like a 10-person team, even if it's just you. So you don't need superpowers to get everything done. You just need Wix. Try it now for free at Wix.com.
Welcome to another episode of Fringe
Beyond Limits.
God, that feels good every single time.
Do
you think our fellow listeners
every single time?
You think our fellow listeners sigh along with us? They're like, "Oh God, another episode."
Yeah,
much.
exactly. I think as soon as they hit play, they regret their actions.
What am I doing with my life?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you guys ever seen somebody hit rock bottom?
This podcast?
Oh, I mean, yeah. But like, have you ever oh, actually you guys have it, or maybe, I don't know. But like, I have been with women and in the morning, like them realizing they have to get their life together because they slept with me. You know what I mean? It's like,
Sounds about right.
yeah, it's like they wake up, all hungover and they look at me like, oh shit, I got to go back to school. This is just so
Stop.
shitty. I can't believe I did this.
Better be talking about college, you creep.
I mean, maybe high school. I don't know. I mean, she could have been a high school
Ew.
teacher. She could have been a high school teacher. Take it easy.
Take
No
it easy.
comment.
So, yeah, I've been there a couple times. Seeing someone just hit rock bottom after sleeping with me.
You seem so proud of it too.
He is.
I mean, you can either be proud of it or you can have it affect you negatively. I'd rather be proud of my accomplishments. I helped that lady get a better life.
You helped her see Jesus.
Yeah. So I helped her out.
That's nice of you.
Yeah, of course. I do my part.
You're such a giving person.
I gave all right.
And
Are you
they
sure
gave
about
up.
that? Especially
They
if
gave
she's
up.
Yeah, no.
questioning her life choices.
Yeah, no. I mean, I made her realize she's got to change her life around. So, it's like a public service I do.
Just keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, no. I mean, self-deprecating humor is my favorite. So
You've perfected it.
yeah. So I'm almost done with this bottle of wine that I started
And when did you start that?
30 minutes ago.
Oh,
There's a hole in the bottle.
Yeah, there is. There's a whole,
Leaking all this wine. It's
Which one is
already
it?
empty.
it's a
Maybe
Cabernet.
It's supper time.
Yeah. So, yeah. So dumb ways to die, right? We're doing this.
Yeah.
All right. I'll go first, ladies.
All right. So we can realize that we've hit rock bottom.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Speaking of hitting rock bottom, this takes place in Buenos Aires in 1988.
Oh.
So in Buenos Aires, a woman walking down the street was tragically killed by a falling poodle. The dog tumbled off a 6-story building, striking the woman below. Sadly, the dog didn't survive either, but the horror didn't end there. A bystander who witnessed the scene was struck by a bus, and an elderly man watching it all unfold suffered a fatal heart attack from the shock. I think the poodle hit rock bottom.
Poor puppy.
I know. I actually feel
Also-
bad.
Oh.
What was that? 4 other deaths? My goodness.
Yeah, a total of 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you imagine seeing a poodle hit a woman in the head, and then you're in such shock. I'm assuming he stumbles backwards and gets hit by a bus. I mean, it's
Wild.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not funny, but it's it's amusing.
Do you think it was a standard poodle or a miniature poodle?
I would have to say a standard poodle.
Oh man.
Because it's only 6 stories, so like, a little 5-pound
That's
poodle.
still 60 feet.
Yeah, but like I said, like a toy poodle or a small, like a 5-10-pound poodle, would do some damage. Maybe it would kill, but I think a big poodle, the normal size, would just demolish some lady.
Was the poodle depressed and jumped?
Oh, so you think it was a willful jump?
No, well, I don't know. Maybe he was chasing a bird.
Maybe, or maybe just someone threw a frisbee. Oh,
Out a
Gee.
window?
I
Oh my
mean, I don't
God.
know. Do you think that might happen more in Australia?
What, with like a boomerang?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe.
Do you guys ever
Yeah.
see the video of the guy getting in or punching the kangaroo in the face because it had a hold of his dog?
Yeah, I've seen that.
That is awesome. Lynette, have you?
No, but I've seen the photos of that jacked up couple kangaroos out there.
Oh, they're all jacked up.
Well, I've seen them in person and they don't look like one on steroids.
Yeah, no, they're definitely roided up. I mean, you got to remember,
Maybe it's in
Australia.
the water down there.
No, it's a penal colony, so they're all on drugs and they all just drink all day and steal and rob and just use steroids.
So there's no emus running
Yeah,
policing the area.
yeah, no, because the emus would fuck them up. But the video, so this jacked up kangaroo has this dog like in a headlock almost. So the owner runs up on the kangaroo and just throws a left hook, connects him right in the face. The kangaroo lets go of the dog and just standing there looking at him, and then they all just walk away. But he fucking punched the kangaroo right in the face because he had a hold of his dog. I'm like, that's awesome.
Poor doggy.
I mean, I've seen the videos of fellas jumping in the swamps and wrestling alligators to get their dogs back and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've
But
seen
I've
those
never
too.
seen kangaroos.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah,
I don't.
I've definitely seen that kangaroo one.
Yeah, that's why.
No,
I
I
I'm
don't
not.
know what I would do.
Yeah.
I would
I'd be
cry.
so afraid of the kangaroo, but I'd want my dog back.
Right. Yeah.
Yikes.
So, all right, sweet. Good talk, guys.
That was an
Oh,
interesting
you can
twist.
send the emus after them.
After who?
The kangaroos in Australia. Because the emus won that war, you can send an emu after the kangaroo.
Okay, I'll put you in charge of that.
Okay.
All right.
On it.
Sweet. All right, who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Okay.
Mine's a little short.
Sweet.
All right, so mine took place July 2011 in New York. So, protesting motorcycle helmet laws, and Onondaga, New York man was participating in a homeless protest ride when he was killed after flipping over the handlebars and fatally hitting his head.
Well, he just proved the wrong point.
Yes.
He won't. I mean, he definitely used his head.
Nice one.
Thanks. I'm here all
So
week.
the laws passed and now they stay.
Pretty much.
Hmm.
Well, I think the laws passed and he tried to make it not pass, but then he proved the point.
Yeah, I think there's.
Like, dang it.
I think there's only like 12 or 14 states that have helmet laws. I don't think it's that many, which is
Yeah,
weird.
there's not that many yet. Well,
I know
wasn't
you
that
don't
like
need
that
them
with
in
the seatbelts?
Illinois.
Right. Yeah, you don't need them in Illinois.
I don't know about seatbelts. I thought it's national.
No, like I think at the beginning it wasn't in every state. Now it's national, but it used to not be.
It's like, oh, we've crossed into Indiana. Unbuckle these bad boys.
Right.
I don't know. I feel naked when I don't have a seatbelt on.
Well, now you
I
do.
feel
'Cause,
too floaty in the car.
yeah, I mean, now you do.
Floaty.
You know,
Loose in the car.
do you think you'll float away?
Well, you just hit a bump and you're like, whoop.
You know what I used to do? I used to have my Wrangler, and I'd have the doors off, and I would drive around without a seatbelt all the fucking time, like an idiot.
Yeah, that's really dumb.
Yeah, I know.
You'd be on our podcast.
I would be. I would be a segment, absolutely. Look at how this fucking idiot died. So.
What was it, Sunday? We talked about Brian, my husband, being on this podcast for this section.
Yeah.
He'd be one of those that die in a toilet, pooping.
100%. He would like have an aneurysm because he's pushing too hard.
Pretty much.
So.
He'd probably agree with that.
Yes.
Okay, my turn?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Mine also, let's see. Okay, so mine is a story that I've named The Butterfly Effect. Okay, so in February of this year, so 2025, there was a 14-year-old boy named Davy Nunez Moreira from Brazil, and he died after injecting himself with a mixture of butterfly remains and water, allegedly as part of a viral online challenge. Initially hiding the truth, he later confessed before his condition rapidly deteriorated, leading to severe symptoms and hospitalization. Despite medical efforts, he died within a week with suspected cause including infection, allergic reaction, or an air embolism, and authorities are investigating, and experts warn that even seemingly harmless insects like butterfly carry toxins, especially when introduced directly into the body.
That's
So smart.
amazing.
Where did a 14-year-old get a needle? I want to know that too.
Well,
You like hijack your biology class or something?
no, I mean, a family member could be diabetic.
Or they
Yeah.
could be jerkies.
You know?
Yeah, I suppose.
You know, I mean, I have needles all over my house.
So do I.
See, maybe you're the oddball out, Lynette. You should get some needles.
I have sewing needles. I have record needles. I have pine needles.
I think you just need to do harsher drugs.
Okay. Need to go from pine needles to heroin. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, you could also do, crack cocaine. You can melt down a crack rock.
Oh, okay. I'll just look in my backyard for one of those.
Well, I mean, you aren't in Tennessee, so, I mean, I'm sure there's all kinds of... I'm pretty sure on the way to the post office, you pass at least one crack den.
I'll Google Maps and see if there's any on in my neighborhood.
They might have like a geo filter on Snapchat.
Maybe. Probably is. Just look for the little red hotspot.
Yeah, right. It's a little red needle just right there.
Oh, I thought this was a hospital. Nope.
No,
it's just Billy Bob's backyard.
Yeah, I love Billy Bob.
Billy Bob.
All right. Well, ladies, what are we talking about today?
The giggling grandma.
Ooh. Giggling grandma? Is it because she gets tickled?
Maybe.
Ooh. Wow.
Is that what she sounds like?
I hope so.
Okay.
That would be real
like
creepy.
Woody the Woodpecker.
Yeah. What the hell was that?
She was giggling.
That was not a giggle.
Okay.
That was like something got inserted
Honking?
somewhere that it shouldn't be inserted.
Oh, Lordy.
So.
What's the giggling grandma? I don't know the story.
The giggling granny. She is better known by Nanny Doss. So, Nanny Doss seemed on the surface to be a sweet, smiling grandmother. One local Oklahoma newspaper even described her as a loving grandmother with a charming smile. But behind that smile lurks something far more sinister. Over the course of nearly 3 decades, from the 1920s to 1954, members of Nanny's family mysteriously died, one by one, until authorities finally unmasked the cheerful widow as a serial killer. By the time it all ended, Nanny Doss had confessed to killing 11 relatives, for 5 husbands, 2 children, 2 grandsons, her own mother, her sister, and a mother-in-law. Her deadly repertoire and the bizarrely jovial demeanor she displayed when talking about her crimes earned her a slew of macabre nicknames: the Giggling Granny, the Jolly Black Widow, the Lonely Hearts Killer, even the Self-Made Widow. In this episode, we're going to dive deep into Nanny's story, from her troubled upbringing and twisted search for love, through 5 marriages plagued by betrayal and murder, and the trail of bodies left in her wake.
Good Lord.
Right? So we'll explore how this seamlessly harmless woman charmed and manipulated everyone around her, keeping suspicion at bay with her sweet grandma act.
Yipes.
I know.
They say keep it in the family.
No one knows your business better than you. So who better to create your website than, well, you? Wix's website builder puts it all in your hands. Create a beautiful website just by talking with AI, or choosing from thousands of templates. Customize every detail with simple drag-and-drop tools and get everything you need to start running business your way. Build more, think bigger, and do it all yourself on Wix.
NetCredit is here to say yes, because you're more than a credit score. Apply in minutes and get a decision as soon as the same day. Loans offered by NetCredit or lending partner banks and serviced by NetCredit. Application subject to review and approval. Learn more at netcredit.com/partners. NetCredit. Credit to the people.
So you've got your streaming subscription sorted, but every now and then, live TV FOMO hits hard. Good news. With Passes by Sling, get instant access to live TV when you want it. Big football game tonight? Grab a day pass. Baseball series? Try a week pass. Show or movie marathon? You guessed it, weekend pass. Introducing Passes. Get the live TV you love for the day, week, or weekend starting at $4.99. Sling lets you do that. Offer applies to Orange Day Pass. Restrictions apply.
High Five Casino is the top choice for social casino gaming that's free to play. With chances to win and redeem for real cash prizes, free spin rewards, and tons of exclusive games, you can experience more high-five moments than ever before. You're going to want to high-five everyone. The neighbors, the mailman, all your coworkers, of course your friends. Well, you get the point. Your high-five moment awaits at highfivecasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.
Keep it in your pants.
At least down here.
Right? All right, so every story has a beginning, and Nanny Doss's beginnings in the early 1900s deep in the rural South. She was born Nancy Hazel on November 4th, 1905, in Blue Mountain, Alabama, a small farming community in Calhoun County. From the moment she could walk and talk, life wasn't exactly filled with laughter. Nanny was one of 5 children. She had 1 brother and 3 sisters, born to James Jim Hazel and Louisa Hazel. By all accounts, young Nanny's childhood was unhappy and difficult. Her father, Jim, was controlling and abusive figure, the kind of man who ran his household with an iron fist. He forced Nanny and her siblings to work long hours on the family farm, often keeping them out of school so they could plow fields and tend crops. As a result, Nanny's formal education was spotty at best, and she struggled academically whenever she was allowed to attend classes. Jim Hazel's overbearing nature didn't stop at hard labor. He had a deeply suspicious view of the world, especially when it came to protecting his daughter's virtue. He forbade the girls from wearing makeup or any attractive clothing, thinking such temptations would protect them from male attention or molestation. Social events were off limits too. No dances, no parties, nothing that might allow young Nanny or her sisters a moment of teenage normalcy. In essence, Nanny grew up extremely sheltered and stifled under a paranoid patriarch who tried to barricade his daughters from the outside world. It's ironic, considering what Nanny herself would later become, that her father's draconian rules were meant to keep her family safe.
Don't people realize when you do that as a parent, you're making them want to rebel more?
No. Parents still don't understand that.
It's sad.
Yeah. So to make matters worse, at age 7, Nanny suffered a traumatic head injury that she later blamed for many of her problems. In 1912, while the family was taking a train to visit relatives, the train made a sudden stop. Little Nanny, not prepared for the jolt, was thrown forward and struck her head on a metal bar of the seat in front of her. She was knocked unconscious. In the months and years after, Nanny reportedly suffered from severe headaches, blackouts, and bouts of depression. She would eventually point to this accident as a turning point, the moment something changed in her mind, setting the stage, at least in her own explanation, for the destructive behavior that followed. Whether the head injury truly influenced her psychology or just a convenient excuse, we'll never know for sure. But it's a piece of the puzzle Nanny herself emphasized when trying to explain her crimes later on. So that is a thing, by the way, is that a lot of these serial killers will have a traumatic head injury at a very young age. And they say that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I said, yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, so injury to the
Prefrontal cortex.
Prefrontal cortex, thank you, is a big indication of changing your psychology, going from mild-mannered to violent and just exploding at no reason whatsoever. So as we, dive into some of these other serial killers, like that's going to be a running theme. That and molestations by parents. So I'm happy I can cheer we all follow up here.
I was going to say.
So now it wasn't all toil and pain for young Nanny. She did find an escape in the pages of her mother's romance magazines. Imagine a girl who's forbidden from dancing with boys or wearing a pretty dress. What can she do but dream? Nanny would devour the Lonely Hearts columns and romantic serial stories in those magazines every chance she got. In those pages, she found an idealized vision of love, dashing men, perfect gentlemen, happily ever afters. Perhaps it was a welcome fantasy compared to her reality with an abusive father. The romance magazines became her fairy tales. According to one account, Nanny spent so much time daydreaming about her true love that it impacted her view of life as a whole. She grew up believing in the idea of a perfect mate in a storybook romance, yearning to escape her father's tyranny for a loving husband who would sweep her off her feet. If this were a different story, we might be rooting for Nanny to find that Prince Charming and live happily ever after. But as we'll see, Nanny's quest for real romance in life took a dark and deadly detour. Sometimes the monsters in fairy tales are slain by the hero. In this story, the would-be princess became the monster, all while still dreaming of love. And so, armed with a head full of romantic fantasies and the scars of her upbringing, Nanny entered her young womanhood. She was eager to leave her father's household and start a life of her own. At the age of 16, she got her wish, though not exactly in the way romance magazines might have imagined. In 1921, 16-year-old Nanny Hazel went to work at the Linen Thread Company in Anniston, Alabama. It was there at the factory that she met her first suitor, Charlie Braggs. Charlie was a co-worker of Nanny's, and he quickly took a liking to the shy, pretty teenager. He wooed her as one account puts, and given Nanny's home situation, it's no surprise she was receptive to the attention. After just 4 months of courtship, with her father Jim's eager approval, Nanny married Charlie Braggs. Perhaps Jim Hazel saw this as a chance to hand off responsibility for his daughter to another man. Perhaps Nanny saw it as her ticket out. Either way, 1921, she became Mrs. Braggs, a teenage bride stepping into the great adventure of married life. Do you think you guys could have gotten married at 16?
No.
No. It's because the thing is, if it was like back in the day where you kind of mature younger, in a way, I don't know.
I couldn't. I know that for a fact.
I mean, it's hard to place. Like, we didn't grow up in the 20s, obviously.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, if it wasn't back in the 20s, I don't know how it would be, as in, like, how I was personally now at 16. No.
Yeah.
Obviously, people lived differently back then. So,
sure.
I mean, back then, maybe.
And back then, your only job was just to take care of the house and pop out as many kids as you possibly can and don't have a voice of your own. And yeah, I mean, that was starting to change come the 20s. But
what I'm hearing is those were the good old days.
Half. I wouldn't be able to say that in the 20s.
Unfortunately for Nanny, reality didn't match her romance novel dreams. She moved in with Charlie and his mother, a woman who turned out to be just as controlling and difficult as Nanny's father. In fact, Charlie's mother was an unwed, possessive mother who insisted on living with the couple and took over Nanny's life completely.
Oh, hell no.
By Nanny's own later account.
Can you imagine living with your mother-in-law?
Oh, my mother. Oh, listen, I would be in jail.
I would have to take over the cooking.
Yeah, I would be in jail. So I would rather be in jail than living with her. So imagine escaping one domineering parent only to gain another in your mother-in-law. This older woman constantly demanded Charlie's attention and interfered in every aspect of Nanny's daily life. She didn't even allow Nanny's own mother to come spend the night in their home. So much for wedded bliss. Poor Nanny was basically stuck in a household where she was treated like the unwelcome intruder by her mother-in-law. Still, over
She's stealing her son, that's why.
Dude, listen, that sounds like the opposite of the Oedipus story. You know?
Yeah, there's I forgot what the female version's called. Like the
Well, this is not the female version. The female version would be a daughter wanting to marry her father.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like instead of it's more the parent that wants to.
Right. Yeah.
Got it.
So still over the next few years, Nanny tried to make the best of things. She and Charlie had 4 daughters in quick succession, one after another from 1923 to 1927. So if you're doing the math, that's 4 children by the time Nanny was 21 or 22 years old. The stress of raising so many young kids, combined with the constant meddling of her mother-in-law and Charlie's own issues, put enormous strain on the marriage.
Not to mention psychologically, she was a child herself.
Oh, 100%. She never had a chance to grow up and just lived in a fantasy world until now, or even including now, probably.
Right. And so sheltered from the rest of everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Both spouses suspected each other, probably correctly, of infidelity. Charlie would disappear for days at a time, allegedly on wild escapades with other women, leaving Nanny at home with the children and bitterly suspicious. The atmosphere in the Braggs household was toxic. Fights, jealousy, the tension of relentless mother-in-law, crying babies, dwindling money. This was not the life Nanny had dreamed of. Then tragedy struck in 1927, or what appeared to be tragedy. That year, 2 of Nanny's young daughters, the middle 2 girls, suddenly died. The official cause was food poisoning. One moment the toddlers were perfectly healthy, and after breakfast one day they rapidly fell ill and perished without a clear explanation. It was a horrific blow to the family. But Charlie Braggs, the girl's father, found it suspicious that 2 children would die so abruptly. 2 out of the 4, and specifically the ones in the middle. Something just felt off to him. According to reports, Charlie had also received an anonymous warning from someone in the community not to eat any food Nanny prepared. We can only speculate who sent that warning. Perhaps a family member or neighbor who sensed something amiss. In any case, Charlie grew terrified of his wife. Later, he would flat out state that he left Nanny because he was frightened of her. It's not often you hear a husband say that about a teenage girl, but given the circumstances, perhaps he was the first to glimpse the truth, that sweet little Nanny might have a murderous side.
Who knows? Maybe that's why he went on his month-long escapades. Maybe he was just terrified.
Trying to get away from her.
Or maybe after 4 kids, he just...
Oh, yeah, there's probably that too.
You know.
And not to sound like a... What?
Needing like peace and quiet.
Yeah. I was going to say, not to sound like a serial killer myself, but wouldn't it be amazing to live in a time where toxicology wasn't a thing?
Yes.
Fingerprints weren't a thing.
Yeah, pretty much. If you weren't around after you committed the crime, you got away with it.
As long as you kept your mouth shut.
Right. So in early 1928, Charlie Braggs decided he'd had enough. One day he up and fled, taking the eldest daughter, Melvina, with him and leaving newborn Florine, the youngest, behind with Nanny's and his own mother. Charlie's departure must have been abrupt and chaotic. Imagine Nanny's shock. Her husband runs off, snatching the one child and abandoning an infant. For a mother, it's hard to imagine a worse scenario. And yet...
And leaving me with your mother-in-law.
100%. In the context of what might have really happened, Nanny possibly poisoning their children, perhaps Charlie was acting to save at least one kid and himself. Charlie's mother, Nanny's despised mother-in-law, died not long after Charlie left. It's noted only briefly in the accounts, but given what we know, one has to wonder, was that death also Nanny's handiwork? At the time, it may have seemed like another cruel twist of fate, the old woman's health failing after the shock of her son running away. But looking back, some have speculated that Nanny might have slipped a little something extra in Mama Bragg's tea as payback for the years of torment. We don't have proof of that particular murder, but let's just say it wouldn't be out of character for Nanny to kill her.
Just really shocked that she started with her own kids if she was mad at him.
That could have also been like a postpartum thing too.
Yeah, but it was the middle ones.
Yeah, but she still had a baby, so I mean...
She's just reacting to whoever their closest victim is.
Right, or easiest victim.
Yeah.
Maybe she was closest to the oldest because that's your firstborn, and then she's next closest to the baby because it needs you the most, so the middle two? I don't know.
That sucks.
Yeah. So in the summer of 1928, Charlie Braggs actually returned, but not to reconcile. He came back to Anniston with Melvina and a new girlfriend, a divorcee with her own child in tow. You can imagine the awkward scene. Charlie showing up at the door with another woman and his arm, basically to drop off Melvina back to her mother.
What?
And that's real shitty.
You think he's being a good child.
Guy. Right. We all felt sorry for him for a brief moment. Charlie and Nanny officially divorced soon after that reunion in 1928. Nanny was left a single mother of two surviving girls, back at her own parents' house. She took Melvina and Florine and moved in with her mother, Lou, having no other place to go, and got a job at a local cotton mill to support herself and the kids.
She went from one mother to another.
Pretty much. Thus ended the first chapter of Nanny's married life, in heartbreak, death, and fear. Charlie Braggs would later count his lucky stars that he became the only one of Nanny's husbands to survive marriage to her. Those two little girls who died in 1927, in hindsight, they are believed to be Nanny's first victims. It seems like she poisoned her own children, an unfathomable act, perhaps out of stress, revenge against her husband or mother-in-law, or maybe simply because they were in the way of her happily ever after. We can only guess at her motive. What we do know is that their suspicious deaths marked the start of Nanny's murderous habits. The Giggling Granny's bloody trail had begun, even if no one realized it yet. So here is Nanny, around age 23, divorced with her mom, raising two little girls alone. It wasn't the romantic life she wanted, but she wasn't about to give up on finding love. In fact, she was already on the hunt for husband number 2. And this time, she turned to the very source of her fantasies, the Lonely Hearts Classifieds, to find her next Prince Charming.
Hey, it's the back then dating site.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how your grandma and Grandpa Tony met.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he answered an ad in the classifieds all the way from Iowa.
It's so wild.
Yeah, that was also
that's pretty cool. I never knew that.
Yeah, that was also back in the 80s. I mean, rightfully so.
Do people look for love on Craigslist? Like real love?
Probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Well, that could be.
I know people shop for right now love, but
they're just looking for what every man looks for.
Pizza.
Yes.
Bam chicken wah wah.
That could be a future episode.
What's that?
Love found on Craigslist.
Oh, that's
just
fun.
Just pulling up ads.
Yeah. No, or just researching stories.
Oh.
Like horror stories and, maybe happily ever after stories or something like that would be kind of fun. So.
If you like pina coladas.
Dun, dun, dun.
Getting drunk in the rain.
That's not the lyric,
I
but I'll
know.
give it to you.
I know. Thanks. Nanny was nothing if not determined. By 1929, barely a year after her divorce, she was ready to love again. Now living in Jacksonville, Alabama, Nanny answered a personal ad in a Lonely Hearts newspaper column. The ad was placed by a man named Robert Franklin Harrelson, who went by Frank. Oh, shit.
Those Franks.
Shit. This is going to be the way Missy ends me. Frank was a
Missy, if you're listening, take notes.
Right?
I mean, she does watch,
Snapped.
what's that show?
Snapped. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Frank was a 23-year-old factory worker from Jacksonville. His ad promised romance, and Nanny, with those old magazine dreams still dancing in her head, leapt at the chance. The two began exchanging letters. Frank wooed her with traditional poetry, while Nanny spiced things up by sending flirtatious, racy letters and even photographs of herself. Yes. Yeah.
You go, girl.
That's
Where do
right.
you go to get photos developed in the 20s?
I don't know, but it's got to be a little awkward of like a stranger taking like a titty shot.
Right, because you can't really take selfies.
Right.
With a box camera.
Right. You have to stay there posed for like 5 minutes.
Don't move.
Yeah.
Your boobs end up in the weird places because the camera's smushed, blurred.
There's like 5 nipples on one boob because it kept moving around.
She sneezed.
That would be awesome. All right, so
On that note.
yeah, on that note, let's see. Where was I? I just lost my spot.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. All right, here we go. So it wasn't long before words on a page weren't enough. That same year, 1929, Nanny married Frank Harrelson, becoming a wife for the second time at age 24. She packed up her 2 daughters, Melvina and Florian, and moved in with Frank in Jacksonville. For a moment, it may have seemed like Nanny's romantic prayers were answered. Frank wasn't described as classically handsome or wealthy, but he had shown her affection and escape. However, and you might sense a pattern coming, Nanny had a terrible talent for picking the wrong men. Frank Harrelson turned out to be an alcoholic with a violent criminal record for assault. The charming pen pal poet quickly revealed a dark side once the ink was dry on the marriage certificate. Well, maybe he deserved to die too.
What if he was a serial killer? She just got him first.
Maybe.
Good for her.
That'd be interesting.
That would be
Plot
interesting.
twist.
Oh, mind blown.
What'd you just say?
Who?
Lynette.
Plot twist?
Oh, plot twist.
What'd you think I said?
I don't know. I missed it completely.
Oh, you fell asleep when I talk. I get it.
What? I'm sorry.
How does that wine taste, Frank?
Dude, it tastes so good.
Does it taste weird?
A little bit. It tastes spicy.
Taste a little.
Was it already open by the time you got to it?
Yeah. No, Missy poured it for me.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know
Tastes
why.
a little bleachy.
Yeah, but also like my throat's kind of closing up. I think I'm getting a cold. So.
Okay. Next.
All right. Sorry. So daily life in marriage number 2.
Marriage.
Was likely volatile. Frank would go on benders, get drunk, possibly get into fights. Meanwhile, Nanny had her 2 little girls to raise, and soon enough, she also became a grandmother. Yes, a grandmother in her 30s. Let's talk about that, because some of Nanny's most disturbing crimes involve her own children and grandchildren during this period. This is where the story really veers into jaw-dropping territory. Nanny's older daughter, Melvina, grew up and herself got married as a teenager. In 1943, in her late teens, Melvina gave birth to Nanny's first grandchild, a boy named Robert Lee Haynes. Nanny Doss, at around age 38, became Grandma Nanny. That's so weird to say.
Grandnanny.
By all accounts, she loved holding baby Robert and doted on him. 2 years later, in 1945, Melvina had a second child, another baby. Some sources say a girl, others just say another baby. The second birth did not go well. Melvina was exhausted from difficult labor and woozy on ether, which is an anesthetic, in the delivery bed. In her groggy state, Melvina thought she saw something horrifying. She claimed that as she drifted in and out of consciousness, she witnessed her visiting mother, Nanny, stick a hat pin into the newborn's delicate head. A hat pin is a long, sharp, needle-like pin used in those days to secure a lady's hat, and it could possibly serve as a deadly weapon.
Murder weapon.
That sounds horrible. Melvina later asked her sister and her husband if what she thought she saw was real or just a medicated hallucination. They couldn't give a clear answer, but they did recall that Nanny had told them the baby was dead and they noticed Nanny was holding a pin at the time. Doctors couldn't find any concrete evidence because no autopsy was done. The baby was simply presumed to have died naturally shortly after birth. This means, tragically, that Nanny likely murdered her newborn grandchild, stabbing a days-old infant in the head, and got away with it completely in 1945. Melvina was devastated and suspicious, which caused mother and daughter to argue bitterly thereafter. It's even said that Nanny did not approve of Melvina's choice of boyfriend at the time, a soldier, which fueled their arguments. Not long after, while Melvina was away visiting her father, Charlie, following one particularly nasty fight with Nanny, another tragedy struck. Melvina's toddler son, little Robert, who was 2 years old, mysteriously died while in Nanny's care on July 7, 1945. The boy was perfectly healthy when Melvina left with Grandma, yet by the time she returned, her son was dead. The cause of death was recorded as asphyxia from unknown causes. Essentially, the doctor's way of saying the baby stopped breathing and they couldn't determine why. Looking back, they have a pretty good guess why. Nanny likely smothered the child or otherwise cut off his air. It's chilling that within a few months, 2 of Nanny's grandchildren were gone. I know, this is really gruesome.
Yep.
To add insult to mortal injury, Nanny cashed in a $500 life insurance policy on little Robert just 2 months after his death. In 1945, $500 was a significant sum, roughly equivalent to $7,000 today. And remember, Nanny had personally taken out that policy on her toddler grandson. The fact that she even had insurance on a 2-year-old is telling. It suggests premeditation. It's as if she treated baby Robert as an investment that paid off upon his demise. Dark as that sound, it's exactly what happened.
She's turning it into a business?
Yeah. So you know you're dealing with evil when Grandma treats babysitting like an opportunity for profit. I imagine Nanny's knitting circle would have run for the hills if they only knew she was essentially saying, "Don't worry, Grandma will take care of the kids. I've got life insurance on them."
Note to self: if anyone ever says it to my kids, I'm gonna run away.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah,
And far.
very, very far.
So by mid-1945, Nanny had now murdered 2 of her grandchildren. But shockingly, no one had pinned any suspicions on her officially. Infant mortality wasn't unheard of in the 1940s, and unless someone connected the dots, they were tragic but not criminal events in the eyes of local authorities. Melvina, however, had her suspicions and reportedly even confronted her mother, causing a permanent rift between them. Melvina and her husband eventually drifted apart under the grief and stress, and one imagines she kept her remaining distance from Nanny thereafter for safety's sake. Meanwhile, Nanny's marriage to Frank Harrelson had been deteriorating over these 16 years. Frank's heavy I can't talk. Frank's
Is it your heavy drinking?
It is my heavy drinking. Frank's heavy drinking and abuse didn't stop. If anything, it escalated. But Nanny, likely for lack of better options and perhaps for appearances, stuck it out for a long time. Much longer than we might expect given her later pattern of quick disposal. Perhaps with young children and no easy escape, she endured. But by 1945, the marriage reached its horrifying climax. According to Nanny's later testimony, one night in 1945, Frank Harrelson came home extremely drunk after celebrating the end of World War II with some buddies. Fueled by alcohol and whatever demons haunted him, Frank sexually assaulted Nanny that night while she begged him to stop. It was a brutal incident, and it was the final straw for Nanny Doss.
Bad move, dude.
Yeah, I mean, that's horrific.
Dude, karma's a bitch.
The next day, as Frank lay probably hungover and blissfully unaware of the storm brewing, Nanny decided to take matters into her own hands. She found Frank's secret stash of corn whiskey. Every good old boy in the rural South had one, and she laced the jar with rat poison. That evening, Frank went back to his jug to nurse his hangover with a little hair of the dog. It would be his last drink. He died that very night, September 15th, 1945, foaming at the mouth as the poison did its work. Given Frank's reputation as a heavy drinker, the local doctor and family likely assumed his sudden death was due to alcohol or maybe spoiled food he'd ingested while drunk. In small towns, then, an autopsy wasn't common unless foul play was obvious. To everyone else, 38-year-old Frank Harrelson's heart just gave out after a life of hard living. No one suspected that his sweet wife, Nanny, had slipped him a lethal cocktail as revenge for his abuse. Frank Harrelson's death was the first time Nanny directly murdered a spouse, but it would not be the last. In fact, it set a pattern that she would follow religiously going forward. Arsenic or poison in food, drink, a plausible natural cause to explain it, like heart failure or food poisoning, and a naive community ready to support the grieving widow. Nanny quietly collected the insurance payout from Frank's death, which was a hefty enough for her to buy a plot of land and a house for herself near Jacksonville. She was now relatively flush with cash for a widow in the 1940s. Free of her abusive husband and still young, around 39 years old, basically poised to start anew. If any friends or neighbors had doubts about Frank's demise, they likely kept it to themselves. Nanny had a way of playing the doting wife and the devastated widow so convincingly that no one questioned her. After all, this was a woman who had already endured the loss of 2 children, 2 grandkids. People thought, poor Nanny, what a life of misfortune. If only they knew that Nanny manufactured these misfortunes herself. Before we move on, picture the scene at Frank's funeral. Nanny, dressed in black, perhaps dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief, accepting condolences. Was that a slight upturn at the corner of her mouth as they lowered his coffin? Hard to say. The local rumor mill might have noted that Nanny didn't seem too broken up about Frank's passing. But if anyone remarked that she seemed rather cheerful for a widow, well, Nanny might have just giggled and said, I'm just happy he's in a better place. A better place.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just fucked up.
Sorry, I'm just taking notes.
Yeah, go ahead. So by the late 1940s, Nanny Doss was on the prowl again. And why not? She was still relatively young, in her early 40s, with a bit of money from Frank's insurance, and she loved being in love, at least initially. With 2 ex-husbands behind her, one divorced and one dead, Nanny returned to the Lonely Hearts columns in search of her next Romeo. This time her search led her to Lexington, North Carolina, where she connected with a man named Arlie Lanning. Just like with Frank, the relationship moved at lightning speed. Nanny met Arlie through correspondence while traveling, and they married just 3 days after meeting in person, in approximately 1947. Arlie, I know, this is crazy. I mean, I guess in 1940s, you're in your early 40s, you might only have like 10 more years to live. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what the life expectancy was back then, but sure it wasn't, in your 80s. So Arlie Lanning was in many ways a repeat of Nanny's usual type, a hard-drinking, womanizing man. It seems Nanny could pick him. She had a knack for finding fellows who loved their bottle as much or more than their bride. But there was a twist in this marriage's dynamic. In her previous marriages, Nanny had been the one stuck at home while her husband caroused. With Arlie, Nanny often disappeared for months on end herself. Yes, our sweet grandma turned into something of a rolling stone. Some say she would leave town to visit distant relatives or even to rendezvous with men she was writing on the side. Neighbors would notice Nanny was gone for long stretches. Perhaps she told Arlie she had to tend to a sick relative out of state. Meanwhile, Arlie continued his own boozing and philandering when she was away. It appears they both had 1 foot out of the marriage from the start. However, when Nanny was home in Lexington, she played the role of the doting perfect housewife. She cooked hearty meals, kept a tidy home, and charmed the community with her cheerful disposition. The Lannings, to outsiders, might have seemed like an ordinary, if imperfect, couple. The husband, a known party guy, and the wife, a sweet lady who patiently endures his antics. Little did they know the truth. After about 5 years of this on and off marriage, Arlie Lanning suddenly died in 1952. The cause of death was recorded as heart failure. Not a surprise, since Arlie was a heavy drinker and there had been a flu virus going through at that time. Under those circumstances, the local doctor and townsfolk had no reason to suspect foul play. No autopsy was performed. Everyone assumed that Arlie's hard living finally caught up with him. Of course, we know that's not the full story. Nanny had slipped rat poison into one of Arlie's meals and he died shortly thereafter. It was her tried and true method, and once again it worked like a charm. Quite undetectable and fitting plausible natural death. Nanny's performance as the grieving widow reached new heights in Lexington. The townspeople who had seen her act as a loving wife when present really rallied around her at Arlie's funeral, offering sympathy for her loss. They commented on what a devout spouse she had been to poor Arlie. Nanny soaked up the support, likely with a demure smile and humble nods. She had fooled them all. If any of Arlie's friends thought it odd that he died before his presumably healthier wife, they didn't voice it. After all, who would suspect Grandma with the apple pies of murder? She was just too nice. With Arlie gone, his will wasn't much of a concern. He didn't have an estate to speak of, but there was the matter of the house the couple lived in. The house had belonged to Arlie. In fact, the deed was in Arlie's sister's name, not Nanny's. If things went normally, Nanny would have to move out and the house would go to Arlie's family. However, something extraordinary happened shortly after Arlie's death. The house burned down. Yes, the Lanning home was engulfed in flames and reduced to cinders. It was a convenient and well-timed blaze, to say the least. The fire occurred when Nanny was out of the house, perhaps visiting family, so she escaped harm. And wouldn't you know it, the insurance payout from the fire went straight to Nanny. She quickly banked the money. The townspeople might have thought that poor woman, first her husband dies, now her home burns down. But we have to strongly suspect that Nanny deliberately set the fire to claim the insurance and to spite Arlie's family. Rumor has it she may have even insured Arlie's mother, her mother-in-law, was in the house at the time of the fire, meaning Nanny could have killed her mother-in-law via arson. Some accounts differ on this one. I know, she's fucking diabolical. So some accounts differ on this one. One says Arlie's elderly mother died in her sleep shortly after Arlie's funeral, possibly poisoned. Another suggests the mother-in-law perished in the house fire, Nanny said. Either way, what's clear is that Arlie's mother also died in Nanny's orbit in 1952, making her yet another victim. That's 2 mother-in-laws down. The pattern holds. Inconvenient relatives tended to end up dead around Nanny Doss. With money in hand. Yeah, so what do you guys have?
I'm kind of like, no, I'm just baffled. I'm mind baffled.
She's just leaving destruction in her path, and people are just not connecting the dots, apparently.
Just a tornado.
Yep.
I mean, this is fucking crazy.
Like, you're not safe as a husband, you're not safe as a child, you're not safe as a mother-in-law. What are you
hide
safe
your kids,
as?
hide your wife.
I'm coming for them. All right, so with money in hand from the insurance, Nanny was free to move on once more. She left North Carolina and showed up on her sister Dovey's doorstep sometime in 1952. Sister Dovey was quite ill, bedridden in fact. Maybe Nanny painted herself as the concerned sister coming to help out. But given our granny's track record, Dovey's days were numbered as soon as Nanny unpacked her bags. Sure enough, Dovey died soon after Nanny's arrival. This is unbelievable. It's strongly...
Her sister out?
Yeah. Probably for the house. She needed a place to stay.
Now her sister. Now, if you're a sister, you're not safe. So that's another one to add to the list.
Another one bites the dust. And another one gone, and another one gone, and another one gone. It's strongly suspected that Nanny poisoned her own sister to clear yet another familial obligation, or simply because caring for the ailing woman was inconvenient. If true, that adds sister to Nanny's growing list of victims, and it underscores a chilling truth. No one in her family was safe, not even blood relatives. So let's pause for a second and consider Nanny's situation at this point. In the early 1950s, she has now outlived or outkilled 3 husbands, 2 of her infant children, 2 grandkids, 2 mother-in-laws, and a sister. That's a lot of funerals and a lot of tears for one lifetime. She's gotten away with everything. In each case, there are reasonable explanations for the death: illness, heart failure, accident, and she used her charm to deflect suspicion. In fact, Nanny's ability to maintain her sweet, unassuming persona is what allowed her to operate for so long. She was the picture of a kind, church-going wife and mother. Neighbors recalled her with phrases like charming smile and pleasant manner. Investigators later marveled that no one saw the something sinister behind the smile for nearly 30 years. Her manipulation skills were top-notch. She could feign innocence and grief on cue, and she loved to laugh and joke, which made people think she was too lighthearted to be full of dark intentions. This is how she earned the nickname the Giggling Granny, as she truly did giggle often, even when discussing morbid things. It was as if nothing could wipe the grin off Nanny's face for long. Another tool in Nanny's kit was her talent for flirting and seduction. Even as she got older, she wasn't the stereotypical Black Widow vamp. She looked and acted like the friendly neighbor or a doting grandma. But through her lonely heart's correspondence, she could present herself as the perfect match to lonely men, sending photos, sweet letters, and even risque promises. See, she essentially baited her traps with romance. And when her husbands inevitably disappointed her by drinking, cheating, or simply not living up to the storybook ideal, she felt no compunction about eliminating them and moving on to the next. In her own words, she later admitted, "I was searching for the perfect mate, the real romance in life. If the husband didn't measure up, death did them part permanently." By 1953, Nanny was once again a single lady, thrice widowed, and on the hunt. But rather than rely solely on newspaper ads, she decided to try a more formal matchmaking service. Enter the Diamond Circle Club, a dating service of that era for single adults seeking companions. Through the Diamond Circle Club, Nanny struck up a correspondence with a man named Richard L. Morton. Richard was from Emporia, Kansas, and in short order, Nanny decided to travel to Kansas to meet him. Richard Lewis Morton Sr. was a man in his 50s living in Emporia, Kansas. He wasn't known to be a drunk like Nanny's previous loves. In fact, Richard did not have a drinking problem at all. That must have been a refreshing change. Perhaps Nanny thought she had finally found a different kind of man, one who wouldn't abuse her or make her a widow. The two hit it off via letters and decided to marry in October 1952. Nanny and Richard tied the knot in Emporia, making him husband number 4. She moved into his home and presumably took on the role of Mrs. Morton, eager for another chance at wedded bliss. However, old habits die hard. Richard Morton turned out to have his own vice. He was a womanizer. True, he wasn't pouring whiskey down his throat, but he spent a lot of time... Oops, I just lost my place. Okay, he spent a lot of time going into town to see other women behind Nanny's back. In other words, he was an adulterer. For a woman whose head was filled with romantic ideals of loyalty and passion, this betrayal must have stung. Of course, given Nanny's own track record of juggling multiple correspondences and her habit of vanishing on prior husbands, one might say she had a double standard. Still, Richard philandering put him squarely in the box of no good husband as far as Nanny was concerned. But before Nanny dealt with Richard, family matters took precedence. In early 1953, Nanny's father, Jim Hazel, the abusive dad from her childhood, passed away of natural causes. Perhaps Nanny decided to be a dutiful daughter, but she agreed to take in her elderly mother, Louisa. So in January 1953, Mother Lou moved into the Morton's Kansas home to live with Nanny and Richard. Louisa was in her late 70s and likely not in great health, but she wasn't on her deathbed either, until she ate or drank whatever Nanny served up. Within days of arriving, Louisa complained of severe stomach pains and died suddenly in January 1953. Cause of death presumably listed as old age or a stomach ailment. But we can read between the lines.
Wix. It's where website creation meets AI, and where your boldest ideas become real. It just takes one platform to build a site that looks great and does everything you need it to. And it just takes one person, you, to start taking care of business like a 10-person team. With AI tools for creating an entire website from scratch or testing new ways to make money, Wix is there with you from day one. Try it out now at Wix.com.
NetCredit is here to say yes to a personal loan or line of credit when other lenders say no. Apply in minutes and get a decision as soon as the same day. If approved, applications are typically funded the next business day or sooner. Loans offered by NetCredit or lending partner banks and serviced by NetCredit. Application subject to review and approval. Learn more at netcredit.com/partner. NetCredit. Credit to the people.
Tired of paying for channels you don't watch? Well, a new Select package by Sling gives you a curated lineup of live and on-demand TV you actually want. With channels like Fox News, NFL Network, FX, and more, starting at $19.99 a month. There's even some 4K content. And in select markets, subscribers get local broadcast networks too. No long-term contract, no hassle. Just the live TV you love. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more. Restrictions apply.
Feeling drained, foggy, or just not yourself? This could be the effects of low testosterone levels. Henry Meds has you covered. Our testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, is available in pills, injectable, or daily creams. Many patients report improvements in energy, mood, and focus. Though individual results may vary, TRT may support sexual function. Go to henrymeds.com/TRT to consult a healthcare provider to see if TRT is right for you. Take the first step to feeling your best again and get $50 off your first month at henrymeds.com/TRT.
Nanny had just added her own mother to the poison victims. It's heartbreaking to contemplate the woman who gave Nanny life, now dispatched by Nanny's hands. If we think back, Nanny's mother was one of the few people she supposedly loved. Yet it didn't stop Nanny from stirring a fatal dose of something into Mama's coffee. It seems even motherly love was not enough to spare a life when Nanny saw an opportunity or convenience in murder. What about Nanny's sister, Dubby? Recall that Dubby had died while Nanny visited in 1952. Now their mother, Lou, died in early 1953. If any other Hazel siblings were around, they may have grown suspicious at this point that whenever Nanny's in town, relatives drop dead. But who's going to accuse a jovial, God-fearing woman like Nanny of such horrors? Probably no one. With Mom out of the way, a cruel way to put it, but likely how Nanny saw it, Nanny turned her attention back to husband Richard's misbehavior. By early 1953, she had learned about his wandering eye and his excursions to see other women. According to one account, Nanny was initially too busy tending to her mother to notice Richard's cheating. But once her mother and sister were gone, she saw Richard for what he was, and she was not pleased. True to her pattern, Nanny decided to take care of the problem permanently. In May 1953, only about 5 months after her mother's death, Richard Morton died. The method, by now predictable, was a dose of arsenic, likely in a thermos of coffee that Nanny prepared for him. He collapsed and passed away May 19, 1953. They had been married for less than a year, once again in small-town Emporia, Kansas. A 50-something man dying suddenly might raise an eyebrow, but not a huge alarm unless there was evidence of foul play. Richard's health might have been assumed to be compromised by stress or something. If an autopsy was done, it wasn't publicized. More likely, Nanny managed to avoid one by playing the grief-stricken widow again. Keep in mind, at this point, Nanny had moved states multiple times, so local authorities weren't connecting these dots. In North Carolina, a man died of heart failure. In Kansas, another died of unknown causes. No one realized these widows were the same women moving across state lines on a killing spree. Okay, this is just crazy. Like, I don't understand how someone can kill people so close to her and then keep going on with life.
Part of me wonders, what's the phrase, like compassionate or assisted suicide? I'm wondering if for her mother, if she thought she was doing her a favor. Since
Maybe.
she was so practiced at it.
So like a mercy killing?
Yeah.
Maybe. And even maybe for her sister as well, if her sister was like ill.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
How do you... I'm just wondering these dating apps methods. Like, how do you have this conversation? Like, yeah, your husband number 3, 4, 75, you know.
And then what happened to your other husbands? Oh, they died.
You know, I bet you
all of them.
Red flag.
I bet you that she didn't even say any of that. She may have just said she had one husband that passed away. I don't think she disclosed all the information because it's not like, yeah, I mean, it's not like they had the internet and they could look shit up back then. You know, you had to take someone at their word. You know, and if she's as jovial and God-fearing and kind-hearted to come off as,
to question it. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm more curious what kind of risque promises she made back in the 40s. Like, I'll let you take a look at my ankle.
It reminds me of your speech about people not cussing.
Oh, yeah.
And talking dirty.
Talking dirty, that don't swear. Yeah. I'm going to hump you all night long. So, interestingly, right before Richard's death, Nanny had already lined up her next romance. That's right, the ink on her mother's death certificate was barely dry, and her husband was still breathing for the moment, but Nanny was back in the dating game. She had started corresponding with a man in Oklahoma, Samuel Doss. In fact, as soon as Richard Morton was buried, Nanny packed her bags and took a bus to meet Samuel Doss in Oklahoma. The implication is that she may have been planning Richard's exit and her next marriage concurrently. Like a true black widow, she might have thought, why waste time? One husband's on the way out, better secure the next one. It's cold-hearted, but that was Nanny. One husband became too much to handle, so she killed him off and moved right on to the next love, or rather, the next victim. So within a month of Richard's mysterious death, Nanny arrived in Tulsa, Oklahoma in summer 1953, ready to begin with her 5th and final marriage. Little did she know, this one would not end on her terms. It would end with handcuffs and headlines. Samuel Luther Doss was quite a different breed of man compared to Nanny's prior husbands. For one, he was a Nazarene minister, a devout churchman, and also had a decent career in public works. Sam was a clean-cut, church-going widower from Tulsa, Oklahoma. In a tragic twist of fate, Sam had lost his previous wife and some of his children in a tornado in Arkansas a year prior. So by the time he met Nanny, he was a grieving father, just looking for companionship and a new start. Sam Doss was described as neither a drunk nor abusive. Finally, a husband who didn't beat or cheat on Nanny. You might think this would be a happy match. However, Sam had one quirk that rubbed Nanny the wrong way. He was extremely strict and straight-laced, even by 1950 standards. He disapproved of the trashy romance novels and magazines that Nanny adored, and he even controlled what they could watch on the brand new invention of television. Only educational or religious programs, nothing fun. To Nanny, who loved her saucy stories and soap opera-like reads, this was a major buzzkill. After all, fantasizing through those magazines had been her coping mechanism since childhood. Sam effectively tried to ban them from the house. Sounds like a daddy issue.
100%.
Right?
Sex for her?
So, nonetheless, in June 1953, Nanny and Samuel Doss got married in Tulsa. She became Mrs. Doss. Interestingly, finally matching her own surname by marriage. At first, life with Sam was calm and orderly. Probably too orderly for Nanny's taste. So if you picture it, early to bed, early to rise, Bible study, no alcohol, a very modest, routine life. Sam kept Nanny on a short leash financially too. Being a frugal man who'd lived through hardship, he wasn't about to let his wife spend willy-nilly. Nanny chafed under these rules. After the adventure of juggling multiple men and moving cross-country, this strict household might have felt like a prison or boredom to her. Nanny rebelled in her own way. A few months into the marriage, she actually left Samuel and went to stay with her sister for a short time. She essentially gave Sam an ultimatum. If he wanted her back, he'd have to loosen the purse strings and accept her little indulgences. Sam, lonely and eager to keep his new bride, agreed to the compromise. He added Nanny's name to his bank account and took out 2 life insurance policies naming Nanny as beneficiary. Additionally, Sam apparently allowed a TV back in the house and maybe eased up on the magazine ban. Satisfied with these concessions, especially the financial ones, Nanny returned to Tulsa, to Samuel's home. Now with her financial security assured, Nanny made her move. In September 1954, Nanny baked a special treat for her husband, a prune cake laced with arsenic. What the fuck? I've never heard of prune cake.
She wanted him to poop his pants?
Prune cake?
He's going to shit himself to death.
Is he going to be one of those that die in a toilet?
Oh.
Prunes are plums. It's a plum cake.
It's a plum, yeah. But yucky. So Sam, unsuspecting.
Poopy pie.
What's a poopy? Yeah, you're right. Sam, unsuspecting and likely appreciative of his wife's baking, ate the cake. Shortly thereafter, he became violently ill. He developed what seemed like a severe stomach flu or gastrointestinal infection, intense vomiting, diarrhea, and agony. Sam was a tough man, but this was way behind anything he'd experienced. He was rushed to the hospital with flu-like symptoms and a raging digestive tract infection. In fact, he was so sick that he spent nearly a month in the hospital recovering. The doctors diagnosed a severe digestive disturbance. Sam gradually recovered under medical care, and by the early October 1954, he was well enough to be released. He had no idea that his devoted wife was the one who had put him on what nearly became his deathbed. If anything, during his hospital stay, Nanny likely played the part of the worried spouse, visiting him with that sweet smile, perhaps saying, "I can't wait to have you home, honey." Samuel Doss returned home on October 5th, 1954, after the hospital saved his life. One might think Nanny would take it easy now. After all, her attempt to kill him had almost been discovered. But patience was not Nanny's virtue. She had those 2 life insurance policies burning a hole in her pocket, and perhaps she resented that Sam survived her first dose. Just a few days later, on October 12, 1954, Nanny mixed up another special coffee for Sam, heavily spiked with arsenic. By that evening, Samuel Doss was dead. This time she made sure the dose was high enough to finish the job.
Damn, girl.
Yeah. In fact, the amount of arsenic Nanny gave him was later described as enough to kill a horse. A massive, unmistakably quantity. It was overkill. Literally.
Just little.
Yeah. If Nanny expected a smooth, quick payout and no questions asked, she miscalculated. Samuel's doctor, Dr. F.E. Shoemaker, had already been suspicious about Sam's month-long mysterious illness. When Sam came back gravely ill so soon after discharge and then died, the doctor's alarm bells went off. This was not normal at all. Dr. Shoemaker remembered that Nanny had been very attentive and oddly insistent during Sam's hospital stay. Perhaps she tried to limit what Sam ate at the hospital. Now with Sam dead, the doctor confronted Nanny about performing an autopsy. At first she resisted. This doctor was clever. He persuaded Nanny to consent to an autopsy by appealing to her goodwill, telling her that an autopsy could save lives in the future by finding out what mysterious illness killed Sam. In other words, don't you want to help others, Mrs. Doss? If you knew what took your husband's life, we might prevent it in someone else. I can just imagine Nanny's face. She might have hesitated, but how could she refuse without looking terribly suspicious? In her mind, maybe she thought, well, the hospital already treated him. They might suspect something, but they can't prove it was me. and her ego perhaps whispered that she'd gotten away with so much already. So Nanny agreed to the autopsy that proved to be her undoing. The autopsy on Samuel Doss's body revealed the blatant truth. His organs were chock full of arsenic, a massive amount that could not be mistaken for anything but deliberate. There was absolutely no natural illness that could deposit that much arsenic. It was time for law enforcement to get involved. In October 1954, when the toxicology results came back, the police promptly arrested Nanny Doss for the murder of her husband Samuel. After nearly 30 years of killing with impunity, Nanny was finally in custody, her deadly game at an end. So let's picture the scene. The polite but firm Tulsa police, perhaps accompanied by that very doctor, knocking at Nanny's door. What?
Polite?
What did I say?
You said polite.
Okay, Tulsa police. Sorry.
No, it's polite. The polite but firm Tulsa police.
Okay, sorry.
It's like polite.
Okay, sorry. The polite but firm Tulsa police, perhaps accompanied by that very doctor knocking on Nanny's door, or perhaps catching her at the hospital or funeral home and telling her she's under arrest. Nanny, likely wearing one of her flowery dresses, initially acting confused. Oh my stars, whatever for? The officers explained that Sam had enough arsenic in him to take down an elephant, and that it didn't get there by accident. There might have been a flicker in Nanny's eyes, realization that she slipped up big time. But being the consummate performer, she probably played innocent a little while longer. However, evidence was evidence. They took Nanny down to the station for questioning. What unraveled next would shock even the most seasoned investigators.
Nice accent, by the way.
Did you guys like that? That was my my Southern belle.
You were very belly.
Belly?
When we go visit
Thank you,
Lynette,
Miss Lynette.
when we visit Lynette, you talk like that the whole time.
Okay.
Please do.
All right, yeah. I'd be like, oh, goodness gracious. That's a wonderful apple pie you've baked. Is there arsenic in it?
It sounds a little Forrest Gumpy.
I mean, fitting. That is fitting. So it didn't take long for Nanny Doss to crack once in police custody. Perhaps she sensed that the jig was up, at least with Samuel's murder. Plus, this wasn't a hardened criminal in the sense of interrogation. Nanny actually seemed to enjoy talking about herself and her life. During questioning in October 1954, confronted with the autopsy results, Nanny eventually confessed, and not just to killing Sam, but to a whole string of murders. Over the course of the interrogation, she would admit to killing 4 of her 5 husbands, as well as her mother-in-law, her own mother, her sister Dovey, and her grandson Robert. That being said, interestingly, she denied harming her blood children or her newborn granddaughter. In other words, she insisted that she never hurt the blood kin, despite all evidence to the contrary. This selective confession hints that Nanny still wanted to preserve some image of herself as a loving mother, even as she gleefully admitting to offing her husbands. Let's step into that interrogation room for a moment. It's 1954, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Nanny sits across from detective and perhaps the county attorney, J. Howard Edmondson. She's short, plump, 49 years old, with her hair in a simple bun and a polite smile on her face. The officers are probably a mix of perplexed and horrified. What or how could this woman have done all this? Detective sternly says, Nanny, we have the lab results. Your husband Samuel died from arsenic poisoning. There's no doubt about it. Would you care to explain how arsenic got into his system? Nanny with a...
That's a good detective voice.
Thank you. Nanny,
Thank you.
soft southern drawl. She giggles lightly. Well, sir, I didn't put it in there if that's what you're thinking. Detective Mrs. Doss, you are the prime suspect in your husband's murder. We cannot do a lot of tests these days. Oh no, we can do a lot of tests these days. It won't look good if we start exhuming bodies. And indeed, they had already begun exhuming bodies of some of Nanny's former husbands and family members by this point, with preliminary results showing arsenic or poison in several of them. The evidence was piling up like cordwood. The county attorney laying out photos of headstones. Nanny, we've got reason to believe Samuel wasn't your first victim. We have court orders to exhume Frank Harrelson and Arlie Lanning and others. Do you have anything you want to tell us about these men?
So your investigators are Chicagoans
I mean,
from the 1920s?
yes. Yeah, see? Yeah. So Nanny, eyes widen, then she smiles. All right, sugar. No need to dig up poor Ollie. I'll tell you whatever you want. And boy, did she. According to results, Nanny began to recount the tales of how she killed her late husbands, often laughing and giggling as she described the details. This morbid mirth is what earned her the moniker Giggling Granny. She seemed to find humor or relief in finally spilling the beans. Perhaps after years of keeping it all in, it was a perverse catharsis to say it out loud. Catharsis. Nanny, matter-of-factly with a grin.
No one knows your business better than you. So who better to create your website than, well, you? Wix's website builder puts it all in your hands. Create a beautiful website just by talking with AI, or choosing from thousands of templates. Customize every detail with simple drag-and-drop tools and get everything you need to start running business your way. Build more, think bigger, and do it all yourself on Wix. Go to Wix.com.
NetCredit is here to say yes, because you're more than a credit score. Apply in minutes and get a decision as soon as the same day. Loans offered by NetCredit or lending partner banks and serviced by NetCredit. Application subject to review and approval. Learn more at netcredit.com/partners. NetCredit. Credit to the people.
KPMG makes the difference by creating value, like developing strategic insights that help drive M&A success, and embedding AI solutions into your business to sustain competitive advantage, or deploying tech-enabled audits to deliver more accurate and transparent outcomes. Brighter insights, bolder solutions, better outcomes. It's how KPMG makes the difference every day. KPMG. Make the difference.
High Five Casino is the top social casino that's free to play. Sign up today to receive a free welcome bonus and exclusive first purchase offers. Choose the Lucky Deal package for $9.99 and claim up to 550 game coins, 33 sweeps coins, 1 sweep coin daily bonus for 4 days, and 350 diamonds. Your high five moment awaits at highfivecasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.
I killed Frank. Sure. He was mean to me, so I put rat poison in his cone whiskey. Died right there in our house. He. Never did like this liquor habit. Detective exchanging glances with colleagues amazed. And Arlie Lanning, did you poison him too? Nanny, oh yes. I fixed Arlie a nice dinner and laced it real good. He was awful to me, running around with all other women. I do believe the town thought he died of the flu. Can you imagine? Coyote Turtle, what about Richard Morton? Nanny says, Richard was fun at first, but then I found out he was stepping out on me. So I gave him a dose in his coffee, in a thermos actually. He loved taking hot coffee on the go. I made sure it was nice and sweet, with arsenic. He just went to sleep, never woke up, I reckon. Detective says, Nanny, we have suspicions about some of your other family members, not just your husband's. Did you also have a hand in deaths in your mother, Louise, Hazel, or your sister, Debbie? Up to this point, Nanny had been quite jovial, but according to witnesses, when questioned about the deaths of her relatives, her demeanor shifted. She became more glum. Perhaps even Nanny felt some shame, or at least realized that admitting to killing blood relatives might paint her in a truly monstrous light, undermining her self-image as a romantic heroine. Nanny frowning. I never harmed my own kin, never. My mama's death was from a sickness, and Debbie, that was God's will, not mine. Detective. Nanny, these are the hard-to-believe coincidences. You expect us to believe all these folks died conveniently, and you had nothing to do with it? Nanny snaps, perhaps with a cold edge. I told you. I never hurt my blood kin, only the husbands. They deserved it. Mama didn't. This lines up with what the Encyclopedia of Alabama noted. Nanny maintained she never harmed her blood relatives, even though law enforcement suspected she definitely did. She confessed to 4 husbands and possibly 1 mother-in-law and a grandson, but seems to have danced around admitting to her children's or mother's murders. Perhaps in her mind, admitting to killing her own kids or mom was a bridge too far. Or maybe she truly was in denial about those. The evidence, however, said otherwise, especially once bodies were exhumed. Investigators indeed dug up the remains of several victims and found arsenic in them, confirming Nanny's deadly pattern beyond doubt. One rather bizarre detail from her interrogation. Nanny was apparently obsessed with her romance magazines even while in jail. She reportedly only agreed to keep confessing in return for being allowed to keep a romance novel or magazine in her cell. So picture this. They're asking her about murders, and she says, "All right, I'll tell you everything, if you let me finish this month's issue of True Romance." The police, baffled, went along. After all, if a cheap love story was the key to opening this can of worms, so be it. It's strangely fitting that even during a murder confession, Nanny had one eye on her beloved love stories. Reality never matched her fantasies, so she clung to the fantasy right to the end. The contrast during her confession was striking. Reporters noted that Nanny laughed and smiled as she recounted poisoning her husbands, but became sullen when pressed about other family deaths. This was the birth of the legend of the Giggling Granny, a woman who could cackle about murder as if it were a casual gossip topic. One can imagine the detectives shifting uneasily in their seats as Nanny let out a merry laugh describing how one husband dropped dead after my coffee. He. Guess I made it too strong. Dark humor seemed second nature to her. In one famous quote to the police, Nanny explained her motive quite simply. "I was searching for the perfect mate," she said. "The real romance in life." If that's not chilling, I don't know what is. She saw murder as a means to an end, the end being true love. It's as if each time she killed a husband, she was turning a page in a romance novel, hoping the next chapter would bring Prince Charming. With a full confession on record, the case moved to the courts. News of Nanny's arrest and confession spread quickly, and the press had a field day. There was a grandmotherly woman, pleasant-looking, who turned out to be a cold-blooded serial killer. The juxtaposition was sensational. They splashed her smiling mugshot on front pages. Journalists dubbed her the Giggling Granny, the Jolly Widow, Lady Bluebird, and so on. One local paper humorously but accurately called her the self-made widow. It's not every day that an older woman cheerfully admits to offing a whole string of spouses with rat poison. Needless to say, the public was morbidly fascinated.
I don't understand Lady Bluebeard.
Yeah, I don't either.
Did she have a beard?
I mean, maybe. I mean, it was the 50s. Did women really, upkeep themselves?
Really, Frank? You're
What?
going to find some arsenic in your coffee.
Well, I'm just saying, 1950s. I'm not saying men did either. I mean, men probably didn't, manscape either.
I did the Google.
What does the Google machine say?
The Google machine says Bluebird refers to a fairy tale character in a popular European folktale, and by extension to a man who marries women and then murders them.
Oh, so he's just a female version of that?
That's why they say Lady Bluebird, because she's the female.
Gotcha. All right, thanks for that Google.
You're welcome. I do Google.
After her confession, Nanny Doss was charged with murder in Oklahoma for the death of Samuel Doss. In fact, Oklahoma's authorities decided to focus solely on Samuel's case, likely because it was the most recent and had the clearest evidence. Tulsa County District Attorney J. Howard Edmondson led the prosecution. The other jurisdictions, Alabama, North Carolina, Kansas, certainly had grounds to charge her for murders in their states, too. And indeed, those states' justice departments filed charges, or at least were prepared to. But practically speaking, there was no need for multiple trials if one could put her away for good. Extradition and separate trials would be costly, and given her age and the era, probably seen as overkill. June 1955, Nanny Doss appeared in court in Tulsa. The press filled the courtroom, eager to see this infamous granny who giggled about murder. They certainly got their show. Nanny pled guilty to the murder of Samuel Doss, thereby avoiding a full jury trial. The matter then turned to sentencing. The prosecution originally sought the death penalty by electric chair for Nanny, and under normal circumstances, mass murder might well merit it. However, there was significant hesitation to execute a woman in Oklahoma at that time. It was 1955, and no woman had been executed in Oklahoma's history. The judge in the case apparently shared his reluctance. He declared Nanny Doss insane in 1956 or 1957, which formally took the death penalty off the table. One account says the judge later admitted he didn't want to set a poor precedent by executing a woman, especially not a person with mental disabilities. Whether Nanny truly had any diagnosed mental illness beyond a potential personality disorder is unclear, but the insanity ruling was convenient to spare her life. Where is the equality of sexes here?
It wasn't equal then. It's still not equal now, but it's...
There
was greater disparity than...
I know, I'm just teasing. Thus, Nanny... Yeah.
So I was just curious. It says the judge ruled her legally insane. Did he make that decision, or would he have to have been presented a case by whatever lawyers and just drop the gavel and agreed?
Given the times, I bet he just made that decision on his own. Because I think mental health was still like a brand new thing back then.
But if you're a serial killer, aren't you always insane? I mean, I know you don't get necessarily ruled as insane, or you're competent, or you're coherent of the decisions you're making, but the decisions you made are insane.
Yes. All of the above. I agree.
Unless he felt bad because in his mind she's a little old granny.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was any legal precedent on who and what the rules were on how to label someone legally mentally ill. Now, yeah, there's 35 psychologists and psychiatrists that need to be interviewed and all that, right? But I think back then, since it was still such a new field and there wasn't any legal precedent on how someone can be deemed legally insane, I think it was just up to the judge because they just had more authority.
Judge and jury.
Yeah. I'm just speculating, right? I'm not sure. All right. So thus, Nanny's punishment was decided to be life in prison. May 1955, at 49 years old, she was sentenced to life in prison in Oklahoma State Penitentiary. She took the sentence with a characteristic good cheer. In fact, witnesses say she grinned and literally laughed after receiving her life term, as if she were pleased with the outcome. Perhaps in Nanny's mind, life in prison wasn't so bad. It sure beat the electric chair. Maybe she thought she'd still have some access to her books and letters. There's a famous photo of Nanny around this time. She's being escorted out of the courtroom after pleading guilty, and she's smiling broadly for the cameras. A plump, middle-aged woman in a polka dot dress, looking for all the world like she just won bingo. Not like someone who's going to spend the rest of her life behind bars. That image really cemented her legend as the Giggling Granny. Even signing her confession statement, she was seen breaking into a smile. It's pretty eerie. It's worth noting that Nanny was also convicted for the one murder, Samuel's. The other deaths were never prosecuted. After her sentencing in Oklahoma, the other states decided not to pursue extradition or further trials. There was little point. She could only be executed once or imprisoned once, and Oklahoma had her for life. Additionally, her gender played a role in sentencing leniency. The state explicitly chose not to pursue the death penalty, partly because she was a woman. The public and press reaction to the proceedings was a mix of horror and dark fascination. True crime magazines ate it up, dubbing her case the Lonely Hearts Killer material. She gave a few interviews to reporters even after her sentencing, and in each she maintained a strangely upbeat, coy demeanor. She flirted with male journalists, calling one handsome and asking if he was married. Yes, incredibly, here's a woman who'd killed 4 husbands, still casting an eye for the next potential one. Albeit,
players gotta play.
100%. Don't hate the player, hate the game. albeit possibly in jest. In one instance, a journalist noted she would flutter her eyelashes and giggled like a schoolgirl when answering questions about how she got away with it. It was deeply disconcerting for everyone present. One reporter famously wrote that Nanny laughs merrily while she tells how she poisoned her husbands, thereby coining that giggling granny moniker that stuck. Okay, I just lost there we go. So legally, there was speculation if she might be tried for the other murders if something happened with her Oklahoma sentence. But that became moot. Nanny Doss was headed to prison for the remainder of her days, and the curtain closed on her court saga with no appeals. She was content with her fate. As she told one doctor, "I'm just sorry I won't get to cook for my pretty guards." That's unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
In another grim quip to the press about why she wasn't facing execution, she said, "The electric chair? How would that look sparking off my hair?" Followed by one of her trademark giggles. So with the trial done and the media frenzy dying down, Nanny Doss was remanded to the state penitentiary in McAlester, Oklahoma. You might think her story ends there, but Nanny had a few more years of life and laughter left, even behind bars. Walking into Oklahoma State Penitentiary for women in 1955, Nanny Doss was likely still in a jovial mood. In fact, upon receiving her life sentence, she appeared thrilled at the prospect of life in prison. Perhaps she fancied it a break from troublesome husbands. After all, no one to bother her except some lady inmates and guards. She even remarked that she was happy she'd have no more romance to worry about. At first, Nanny kept up her cheery disposition behind bars. She smiled and giggled often, even when discussing her crimes with prison officials or visiting journalists. This unnerved many around her. Imagine an inmate cheerfully recounting how many people she killed as if discussing the weather. She was something of a celebrity inmate, and reportedly she made jokes about her case frequently. One of her favorites, if someone asked how she managed to kill so many, she'd chuckle and say that it was good old rat poison pie recipe. The gallows humor never left her. However, as the reality of life imprisonment sank in, Nanny's enthusiasm waned a bit. After a couple of years, she allegedly took a reporter that she regretted not getting she told a reporter that she regretted not getting the death penalty because living on her days in a cell turned out to be less fun than she anticipated. The boredom and monotony wore on her. For someone who had spent decades freely roaming from state to state, husband to husband, the confinement was probably tough, even for a self-proclaimed homebody like her. Now,
Do you think they let her work in the prison kitchen?
Yes.
Would you be prevented from working in a prison if you're a poisoner?
Probably.
Mm.
Do you know how like all like the famous male serial killers always had like women like marrying?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think anyone wanted to marry her?
Oh, she might have got love letters. I wonder.
Yeah.
Could be one of the pretty guards.
Maybe. So now, how was Nanny treated by fellow inmates and guards? It's a mixed picture. On one hand, she was a serial killer of family members, even in a women's prison that's likely to make others wary or even hostile. On the other hand, Nanny's grandmother persona might have made it hard for some to reconcile with her crimes. Some inmates possibly found her friendly and didn't feel personally threatened by this pudgy older lady who only poisoned people close to her. There's anecdotal evidence that Nanny tried to be useful and liked around the prison. For instance, she wanted to work in the prison kitchen.
Oh, seriously?
Probably thinking she could finally put her cooking to use without arousing suspicion. But in a decision that shows the prison staff had a sense of irony, the officials refused to let Nanny anywhere near food prep.
Good.
Her offers to volunteer in the kitchen were politely declined, as she later recounted with a smirk. Instead, they assigned her to the prison laundry, a far less dangerous position for everyone involved.
Now she's going to feed everyone Tide Pods.
That's probably what the Tide Pod challenge started. Nanny grumbled about it in a joking way. All that washing and not a drop of rat poison to brighten my day, she might have said.
God, what a weirdo.
Guards reportedly treated her with a mix of professional courtesy and caution. She wasn't violent or prone to outbursts. Her crimes required stealth and patience, but not brute force. so she likely behaved well in prison. She had no husbands to annoy her, which probably kept her content, but the guards certainly never forgot who she was. One guard was quoted saying something like, "She was always smiling, always willing to chat, but you never ate or drank anything she handed you. Not that we'd ever allow her to say, bring us a coffee. We weren't taking chances. So while they weren't cruel to her, they kept a sensible distance when it came to trust." Inmate interactions. Some inmates may have befriended her superficially. It said Nanny would give motherly advice to younger prisoners as if she were some kindly aunt. But again, how do you take advice on, say, relationships from a woman who literally kills her partners? One apocryphal story is that a fellow prisoner once joked she had a bad boyfriend on the outside, and Nanny quipped, "Honey, send him my fruitcake recipe for Christmas. I guarantee you won't hear from him again," followed by that trademark giggle. The story might be embellished, but it captures her dark sense of humor. Over the years, a few psychologists and criminologists came to interview Nanny. They wanted to understand the mind of a female serial killer, a rarity especially in that era. Nanny loved the attention. She often blamed her behavior on that head injury from her childhood, claiming it gave her headaches all her life and impaired her thinking. It's true she had migraines, but whether that caused murder is highly debatable. She also stuck to her story that she was motivated not by money, but by the quest for love and happiness. "I was just searching for the perfect mate," she reiterated. "It is my fault they weren't perfect. Is it my fault they weren't perfect?" That kind of self-justification. In a way, she cast herself as a tragic romantic heroine who unfortunately left a trail of dead husbands. Nanny's final years saw her health decline. Ironically, the woman who doled out death by illness was now succumbing to illness herself. In 1963 or so, she was diagnosed with leukemia. The cancer slowly sapped her strength. Even then, inmates recalled she remained upbeat, joking that the doctors better not give her anything poisonous. As her condition worsened, she was transferred to the prison hospital ward. June 2nd, 1965, after a decade behind bars, Nanny Doss died of leukemia in the hospital unit of the Oklahoma Penitentiary. Fittingly, almost poetically in a morbid sense, it was exactly 10 years to the day from when she had been incarcerated. She was 59 years old, just shy of her 60th birthday. Her body was laid to rest at Oak Hill Memorial Park in McAlester, Oklahoma, where her grave presumably bears the name Nanny Doss. One wonders if any family claimed her remains. By then, most of her closest relatives were dead, many by her own hand, and surviving...
Because she offed them.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And her surviving daughters likely wanted nothing to do with her. And thus ended the life of the Giggling Granny, not by execution or lynch mob or any violent end, but quietly by natural causes in a prison bed. In her final days, did she feel remorse? It doesn't seem so from accounts. She remained chatty and pleasant to nurses, even flirtatious, up until she became too weak. Perhaps in private moments she reflected on the trail of destruction she left, but if she did, she never publicly owned up to the deep regret or begged forgiveness. Instead, she went out with the same odd smile that she carried through life. Nanny's story became the stuff of true crime legend. She is often cited in criminology as one of the rare female serial killers and a case study in the stereotype that women kill more subtly, and for domestic or personal motives. Over the years, many have tried to analyze her. Was she a psychopath who simply enjoyed killing? Was she a victim of brain trauma that affected impulse control? Was she driven by greed or by a twisted idea of romance? The best answer might be all of the above. Nanny herself gave the simplest summary, if a chilling one. During one of her last interviews, when asked if she felt sorry, she said with a slight grin, "I'm only sorry I couldn't meet a perfect man. It seems like they all turned out dead." The macabre play on words, turned out dead instead of turned out bad, encapsulates her dark wit and lack of remorse. Today, people still recount Nanny Doss's tale with a nervous laugh or a shiver. She has been featured in books, TV shows, podcasts like this one, always eliciting the same reaction. How could a grandmotherly lady do such horrific things? How could she laugh about it? Perhaps we'll never fully understand, but her case reminds us that appearances can be fatally deceiving. As we conclude, let's lighten the heaviness with one more of these morbid one-liners in the spirit of the Giggling Granny's own humor. Well, Nanny, here's to you, wherever you are. Hopefully there are no lonely heart columns in the afterlife for you to scour. And if St. Peter greets you at the pearly gates with a cup of coffee in hand, I think we all know he'll politely decline any sugar you offer him. She's fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little.
Jesus Christ.
Do you think it was really head trauma?
I think it really played a big part. I think, like it said, impulse control. You know, I mean, she was finding real losers left and right with the abuse and from her father.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, verbal and probably physical abuse, and her own fantasy of finding the perfect relationship and lack of impulse control when things didn't work out her way. I think it was just a perfect storm, all of the above. You know, I don't think it was one or the other. You know, I mean, a lot of these serial killers, it's just the perfect storm. You know, a combination of mental health, abuse, sexual abuse, head trauma is just, you know, creates these just monsters.
Yeah, it keeps adding. And
yeah, I mean, I've been through abuse, you know, physical and mental. You know, you don't see me murdering anyone. You know,
jokes.
Just jokes, right? But like
that we know of,
right? But and I also have, you know, some mental health issues, as we all know. But you know, accidents happen. I just haven't been blamed for any of them.
I mean, she got away 30 years.
Yeah.
She was able to do it for 30 years and never got caught.
Yeah. I've been doing it for 40. I beat her.
Neener.
All right.
Well,
that was
for that.
Yeah.
Wild story.
That was a long one. That's our longest episode thus far.
Delete it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it was definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, that's a story that I briefly heard about and had to just research it because it was fantastic. So
fantastical.
Yeah. All right. Anything to add, ladies?
Nope.
I'm making pie.
Oh,
next time I come up, would you like some plum pie?
Yeah, 100%.
You should make some plum cake.
Yes. Yes. Can you also add my favorite ingredient in there?
Cherry pits? Perfect.
Arsenic.
Yeah, cherry pits.
Oh, that's right. That's true.
Yeah, apple pits, cherry pits.
Yeah, you know, that's why dogs can't eat those.
Well, that's why people can't eat them.
No, people can, because our digestive system doesn't crack the shell of the seed, but dogs' digestive system does. I did a Google once and read that.
You did a Google?
You're sounding delirious.
I know. I'm going crazy. I've dealt with you guys for too long.
Thanks.
All right. Well,
you love us.
Maybe. Anything else?
Just finish off your wine that Missy gave you.
Oh, it's been done for a while. All right. So thank you for listening, everyone. My name is Frank.
My name is Bree.
This is Lynette.
And you've been listening to Fringe
Beyond Limits.
Ah, college. A time to broaden the mind, question, learn. A time to challenge the status quo. And eat a ridiculous amount of pizza, which you can buy with your Huntington Bank debit card with the Ohio State University logo. Huntington Bank is proud to be the official consumer bank of The Ohio State University and the unofficial bank of pizza. Let's go Bucks! Let's get more from money. Switch to Huntington Bank. Welcome.
How many times have you wished you could be in two places at once? With Wix, you practically can. Wix's website builder is packed with powerful AI tools to make running your business online easier. Build a full site just by talking with AI. Get an AI agent to manage your sales and marketing. Or work like a 10-person team, even if it's just you. So you don't need superpowers to get everything done. You just need Wix. Try it now for free at Wix.com.
Did you know 39% of teen drivers admit to texting while driving? Even scarier, those who text are more likely to speed and run red lights. Shockingly, 94% know it's dangerous, but do it anyway. As a parent, you can't always be in the car, but you can stay connected to their safety with Greenlight Infinity's driving reports. Monitor their driving habits, see if they're using their phone, speeding, and more. These reports provide real data for meaningful conversations about safety. Plus, with weekly updates, you can track their progress over time. Help keep your teens safe. Sign up for Greenlight Infinity at greenlight.com/podcast. If you're sleeping hot and sweaty, it's impossible to get a good night's rest. And if your solutions are blasting the AC high all summer and doing constant pillow flips, you've got to check out Coop Sleep Goods. Coop combines advanced cooling technology and personalized comfort to create pillows that help hot sleepers stay sweat-free all summer. The fabrics are breathable and cool to the touch, so you feel an instant chill the moment you lay down. Designed for 50% more breathability, the innovative fill helps you sleep cooler and more comfortably. They also have Tencel sheets that are naturally cooling, lightweight, and feel buttery soft on your skin. If it's not your coolest sleep ever, return it with no questions asked during their 100-night Sleep Better Guarantee. And right now, you can get 20% off your first order. Visit coopsleepgoods.com/comedy to redeem your offer. That's COOP sleepgoods.com/comedy.
Riley Herbst from 2311 Racing checking in. Got a break in between team meetings? Sounds like the perfect time for some fast-paced fun at Chumba Casino. No waiting, just instant action to keep you going. So next time you need a pick-me-up, fire it up and take a spin. Play now at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba!
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.